Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Authentic Podcast with Justin Doulard. And thank you for tuning in to another episode. And now, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Another genuine conversation with a unique individual. It's time!
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all are having a fantastic weekend, and I appreciate you tuning back in. It is 2021, and it is time to get with the times. Stuff was wild. It's continuing to get wild. I thought this would be a fun topic. People talking a lot about it, and it's growing like crazy right now. We are going to talk cryptocurrency today with my friend, Mr. Matt J. Moore. Matt, thank you for tuning in, and let's tell the people a little bit about you.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. I love this conversation. Chatting about this stuff is always a high for me. I'm in Oklahoma and been involved in cryptocurrency for probably the last 4 years, and it's a drug of mine. And I don't say that just because of the money part, but it's the ideas, the philosophy, the education. I love it all. But that's kind of one of my passions, and I do stuff like this all the time. But on a day-to-day basis. I'm also involved in a group here in Tulsa called the Young Businessmen of Tulsa. It's more my way of giving back to the community networking group. And then my family's involved in fundraising. So I'm always working with nonprofits for fundraising reasons. So I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm having a blast doing it, and it's doing very well for me.
Yeah, man, I know quite a bit about you. I've known you for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and then followed you and whatnot. And, we got started with my crypto stuff, I think about 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I remember I came up and saw you.
Yeah, I have not, and I'll talk about that further too. I have not done a lot with it, but I did put some money in, and it's been sitting. Um, but yeah, I thought you'd be a good guy to have on because I see all your stuff. I know you've been in it for a while, and I know you're super savvy in all the stuff you do. Like you said, you run your business. You've published a book, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
You're very involved in nonprofits, and then business development in general with Young Businessmen of Tulsa. So uh, we kind of know a little bit about you, and of course we'll talk more too. But let's talk about how you got started with cryptocurrency and kind of how you developed that passion for it. Cause you said,
Yeah.
obviously, you're a successful guy. So you enjoy, making money, but you said it's not just about the money, it's about the education and the growth and whatnot. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd classify myself as an idealist, personality wise. I'm an INFJ, so I die on my principles. But I love freedom. I love monetary sovereignty. I love, all these things that contribute to somebody being empowered. And so in 2008, when the financial crisis happened, that was kind of like my big, what the heck's going on moment. And I wanted to understand why we were having all these problems. So whether it was books, YouTube videos, podcasts, whatever. I mean,
how old were you at the time in
I
2008?
would have been, let's do the math on that. Hold on. I'm not good with math in my head, surprisingly. And I just woke up. So
I don't blame you, man.
not too long ago. Hold on. Let's see. It's 2021 minus, 2008. Yeah, I would have been, let's see. 13, yeah, maybe 21 or 20 years old.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I was just entering my 20s. I mean, I was young.
Okay.
I mean, I still classify myself as young.
You look young.
Yeah, I do. And I'm using that to my advantage.
Yeah.
So I started digging into that. I loved it. And so I was like, how far does the rabbit hole go? How far does the rabbit hole go? And so, although it might sound counterintuitive that I'm involved in stuff that involves numbers, cryptography, and money, it's really the philosophy and the type of thinking that goes involved in it. There's a lot of abstract thinking, but with the money, I was fascinated because I was like, well, how, if this is happening, like it all took me to the Federal Reserve. It all took me to how is money created? What gives it value? Where does it come from? Why do people use it? Like all these definitions that these aren't the kind of conversations we have in school. These aren't the things that we think about on a day-to-day basis. We see a green piece of paper and we're like, oh yeah, that's money. We just use it, like nobody really takes the time to think about it. And so because of that, I was really fascinated at where that rabbit hole took me. And so that's kind of what led me to cryptocurrency. I stumbled upon it probably 2010, 2011. I kept hearing the word Bitcoin, primarily around a lot of the WikiLeaks stuff, because at one point, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, WikiLeaks couldn't get payment or donations from people because they were stripped of those rights because of the payment processors. And so they started accepting Bitcoin. So, I'm in all these libertarian circles and freedom circles, and it's like, oh, what is this Bitcoin thing? So at first I was skeptical about it. I looked into it. I didn't really understand it because there's a bunch of, developer computer jargon, which I've gotten a lot better at describing and understanding. But it was just a slow learning curve, and I watched it from a distance. And then by the time it got to $800, I was like, well, this thing isn't going anywhere. It doesn't look like a Ponzi scheme. So maybe I should take this serious and maybe I should, go all in. And so that's essentially what I did.
And so you started around 2010, 2011, and you've been
Well,
investing ever
2010, 2011, understanding it, hearing about it, but I didn't actually put any skin in the game or become passionate about it until probably 2017.
since. Okay.
Yeah.
2017. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and the reason I joined, you and I linked up about 3 years ago, and I've learned some more since then. But there's still a lot of questions I have too. But I think a lot of the reason, and I'm sure you get this all the time, that people are so hesitant is because it's kind of intimidating and it's kind of new and weird as far as their investing goes, which kind of plays into some of the questions I was going to ask you. We'll bounce around quite a bit because
Yeah.
I have different notes and kind of see how stuff goes, but. Can you explain, and this is one of the questions someone asked, can you explain blockchain to someone like they're 5 years old?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm included
Yeah.
in that list as well.
Yeah,
So
man. No, yeah, that's true. I mean, it's hard for people to get their mind around Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies like it because they automatically assume that all digital information can be reproduced, which for historical reasons has been the case.
yeah,
Copying
it
it.
kind of, I mean, I get the same way. Like, you know, it's crazy to think that you may have assets in something you can never, hold or get out technically, even though our cash, could,
Yeah,
as you say, it's fiat money and it could be
yeah,
worthless in a year. People still want the fact that they could go get it or hold it
yeah.
or
Yeah, no, it's like we have this concept in our mind when we think about digital information. Like, I mean, this is one of the reasons why things like Google and Facebook and some of these social networks have grown so big. Is not only do they have network effect, but we haven't treated information with value. I mean, like the real value that it should have, because everything has been able to be duplicated, copy and paste. And so we don't really put a true dollar value on a lot of stuff. And so we're like, oh, it's free. It can be, it can be published anywhere. It's, it's shared, and yeah, all these things are true. But at the end of the day, like when you have an ecosystem that allows digital information to be scarce, it changes the perception, it changes the game for everybody. And essentially what blockchain technology with the combination of encryption has done is create the ability for digital information to be scarce. And the way that works is, and the analogy that I like to make is, I don't know if you remember things like Napster, where we used to download music and Napster was shut down because all this music files were on a central server. Well, that was a flaw because there was a central point of failure. There's a CEO, and then there's servers. There's a company to go after. Well, Bitcoin, the blockchain technology that Bitcoin is built on is essentially open source code that was distributed across the internet. People started downloading it, started running a full node, which is basically just a full version of that ledger. And just like BitTorrent, we after Napster, we started using BitTorrent to download music files and media files, because with that system, it was pulling bits and pieces of these files from different computers all around the world. So there was no central place for the government, or any government at that matter, to go and say, hey, stop doing what you're doing. It's illegal. And so it was just a network that existed, and people were sharing these files with each other, bits and pieces that would complete the file in general. And so blockchain technology is similar in that sense, in the sense that you have all these computers, millions of computers around the world that are running this software, and this software is the exact same software. And the way that I like for people to imagine it is, imagine that software being a traditional book. And in this traditional book, there are entries, just like a regular ledger would, all these transactions of who did what and when they did it and how much it was. And so each one of these softwares on all these computers around the world are managing the same ledger, the same book, okay, at the same time. And essentially what happens is, if I were to send you some cryptocurrency or some Bitcoin on the network, what it does is it broadcasts that transaction to a pool of unconfirmed transactions. And then all of these computers that are securing the network and what they call mining, these computers are going to grab from that pool of transactions. They're going to put them in their own blocks, and they're going to essentially try to solve a mathematical equation, a really tough mathematical equation. And whichever computer solves that equation, that computer gets to take its block of transactions and move it to the main blockchain and have its block be a part of the blockchain permanently. And all the other computers have to come to consensus and confirm that that is true and that is what happened. And so essentially, if you look at it as the book is the software and each page is a block in the blockchain, and these computers are trying to add pages to this book, and they're coming to consensus and confirming that. And so that's essentially how blockchain technology works. Is there's not a central person, a central place, a CEO, anybody to go after, because this is all open source software that people downloaded on their computers. And essentially, these people who are securing the network, that are solving these mathematical equations to win the right to have their block added to the blockchain, when they do that, they are not only validating transactions, but they are winning Bitcoin. They are mining Bitcoin. They get rewarded in newly minted Bitcoin. And I think it's by the year 2140, the last Bitcoin will be mined. And so every 4 years, 2140, the last Bitcoin will be mined. Not mined, but if you could imagine somebody mining for gold. That's essentially what these computers are doing. But instead of mining for gold, they're mining digital information for Bitcoin.
So
and they're trying.
I got a question, I think. So
yes.
When you said 2140, the last Bitcoin will be mined. What is that? What does that mean? And where do you find this information?
Oh man, there's a great book. There's several books. One is the Bitcoin Standard. I've got videos on my YouTube channel. Mike Maloney has a episode called "The Hidden Secrets of Money," episode 8, where he breaks down the blockchain. He breaks down, these concepts. I mean, there's a lot of content out on the YouTube. Just, Google how does blockchain work, and you'll have a bunch of illustrations and stuff like that. But yeah, so I don't know if did I answer your question?
Kind of break that down into layman's terms. So 2140 so far away. What does that mean? And yeah.
So basically that means that it is, it's not, I mean, it's a rough estimate that year 2140 will be when the last Bitcoin is mined. And just because the last Bitcoin is mined doesn't mean that the network stops and fails. It just means that the supply, the newly minted supply, will stop. And that the only thing that these miners will win are rewards off of, or fees off of transactions, validating the transactions. Because these miners who are securing the network with their computing power, they're competing to solve this mathematical equation to win new Bitcoin, but they're also getting rewarded for validating these transactions. And that's what makes the Bitcoin network so valuable. Is it's the most secure computer network in the world. I mean, just to give people an idea, in 2014 alone, when this was a long time ago, and the Bitcoin network has grown substantially since then. But in 2014 alone, the Bitcoin network had more computing power than the top 500 supercomputers combined.
Wow.
Yeah. And the crazy part is, the more people that jump on the network, the more people that start participating and mining and securing the network and utilizing this software, the stronger it gets. And so it's just gonna, I mean, Bitcoin, blockchain technology, it's going to be a black hole that sucks up liquidity like nobody's business.
You for people, you do crypto consulting, but you
Yeah.
put a lot of free content out there too as well.
Oh,
Your
yeah,
YouTube
yeah, yeah,
videos and your Facebook. So I guess for people wanting to get started, and we'll play into one of the questions that someone asked first, and you can kind of answer off that. Because these were, just general questions. How secure is cryptocurrency, which you kind of already answered, but what are options for cashing out?
So, well, first of all, yeah, the network is the most secure computing network in the world. And the only time that you ever hear of Bitcoin, quote unquote, getting hacked, it's not the actual network that Bitcoin runs on. It's actually these third-party exchanges, which are essentially companies that are taking your dollars and converting them into Bitcoin. And so they're just facilitating a transaction. Well, if you keep your cryptocurrency with these exchanges and you don't actually move the cryptocurrency off the exchange, essentially what happens is you're trusting that third party with your cryptocurrency, and they're susceptible to a hack, which would be the equivalent of a robbery, no different than a bank. So the analogy that I make is cryptocurrency is essentially designed to not only be more superior in its divisibility and portability, but it's also designed for you to be sovereign over your own money, to take this digital information and have you be the custodian of it. And sure, there's going to be solutions where banks and institutions and exchanges are going to essentially have custodian services, because not everybody's going to want to take responsibility for their own money. Am I a big fan of that? No, but I just know that there's just going to be lazy people out there.
Sure. And did you hit on options for cashing out?
Oh, yeah, cashing out. So yeah, the options for cashing out. So if you wanted to go back into fiat currency, you can essentially use an exchange, which I talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You can give them your crypto and they can give you cash. You can go to somebody who is basically mining Bitcoin, or that I talked about that process there, because they're obviously running lots of computers, and those computers take up a lot of energy, and they take up and they have expenses to pay. So even though they may be winning Bitcoin, getting rewarded with Bitcoin, they have to sell some of that in order to pay their bills in dollars. So you could actually go to a miner and buy cryptocurrency from them, and that's what a lot of these institutional players are doing right now. And then you can also find an individual that has cryptocurrency, and maybe you want to sell them, maybe you want to sell them your couch or your car or some other method, and they can pay you in cryptocurrency. Or no, you can get cryptocurrency from them, yeah, because you're selling them your item. You could work for cryptocurrency. You could make a deal for instance, when I consult people, I'm like, hey, you do have the option to pay me in cryptocurrency. Like I will accept that. So there's multiple ways of doing it, but those are the primary ones.
How do you, like, it's such a dumb question for the everyday person, but it's questions I have, and I think other people too. So you're like, you can pay me in cryptocurrency, I can sell my couch for cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
How do you value that? Like, it's so easy to be like, hey Matt, I'm gonna, you're worth $20 an hour to me per se. So, I'll give you $60 for 3 hours. How do you value in cryptocurrency or get paid? How do you calculate that? Same with your
So
couch.
yeah, so every day, at every moment, cryptocurrency is being traded on the marketplace, on exchanges. And you can take all that data from those exchanges and see what it's trading at. And you could say, okay, if I'm going to measure value, if I'm going to measure wealth in government dollars, then I'm going to say it's worth this much today. You could actually include a fee on there, because a lot of times it just depends on how you want to go about it. But I mean, like, I could just literally look at the market and go, okay, well, here's the market price today for Bitcoin, or here's the market price for Bitcoin this hour, and sure, is Bitcoin, something like Bitcoin, easy to use as something as a form of currency at this very moment due to its volatility, either up or down. It's challenging right now, but the thing that people have to understand is big money goes through an evolution. It's first a collectible, Then it becomes a store of value, which is the stage that we're entering into. Then it becomes a medium of exchange, and then it becomes a measure of wealth. And the way people have gotten around the volatility aspect of it is they use what they call stable coins. And stable coins are essentially a cryptocurrency that's backed one for a dollar or for a euro or for whatever, government currency you want to use. And that's one way people can address that issue. But the way Bitcoin is evolving is Bitcoin is in the trend of becoming a true hard asset money, and it's becoming like a digital form of gold. And through this discovery process and through the adoption process, through that adoption curve, there's going to be changes. The marketplace is trying to value, okay, what is the real value of this? Like, how, what's the utility? Like, and we could potentially be in a super cycle, for this go round for the next year.
What is a super cycle?
Super cycle is essentially, we would have a huge explosion and high valuation in dollar terms of Bitcoin, because all these institutional players, all these governments, all these retail buyers are all coming to terms and realization of what's happening to not only to their government money, but also to the use case for what Bitcoin allows for.
I want to go back to these questions, so I'll keep that in mind. But I kind of want to play off what we're talking about now. You, like I said, I've known you or followed you and been connected with you for probably 4 to 5 years, maybe a little longer. And one thing that people like to do, it seems like it's fun, and kind of see how well educated you are about it, is make predictions on Bitcoin, where we're at, what's going to happen in the next 60, 90 days, 3 years. I wanted to ask you and talk to you about some predictions that you have made that were correct, and then some that were wrong, and then kind of, talk about where we are in the phase of Bitcoin as far as it being a baby, a teenager, an adolescent.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you could elaborate more on that. So
yeah. I mean, if you go back and watch any of my videos, like the upload dates on YouTube are not accurate, because I just started my YouTube channel like a couple months ago.
Okay.
But all of my stuff that I've been posting video wise has been Instagram and Facebook. So if you go back and look at the dates of when I posted it on Instagram with Crypto More, you can see all of my predictions. And what I was predicting 3 years ago was that as we were in a new bear market at the end of or at the beginning of 2018, I was predicting that all of these institutional players that were poo-pooing crypto, that were talking bad about it, that were saying stay away from it, like, I was not listening to what they were saying. I was watching what they were doing.
Who was that, for example?
For example, you've got people like Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan.
Okay.
Big institutional players like that were, always talking crypto down. But if you look at what they were actually doing, they were actually buying the dips. They were buying it up on the back end. They were trying to scare the market. And they've continued to do that. And now, out of all the hate, out of all the analysis, and out of all the criticism that people like Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan did 3 years ago, like, he was like, if I catch any of my employees with Bitcoin, they're fired.
He said that.
He said that. He's like, I don't care about Bitcoin. Get out, whatever, name whatever negative comment you want, and it's there. Like, that's how bad it was. And now you look at the reports of what Citibank is putting out, what JP Morgan is putting out. They're saying $300,000 Bitcoin, $150,000 Bitcoin. You've got institutions like BlackRock, Guggenheim that are like, hey, $400,000 Bitcoin. Like, what they have done is, like, people always say, like, if you miss the boat, you miss the boat. But if the institutional players miss the boat, they bring the boat back. You know what I mean? Like, right. And this has historically been one of the first times that if you're paying attention and you're watching and you're not just listening to what they're saying and you're really doing some digging, this is the first time that a retail buyer can actually front run institutions on something that's going to be so revolutionary. And I'm not just talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about really any blockchain cryptocurrency asset that has a real use case.
Okay.
I probably got off topic there. I probably ranted there, so I don't know if I answered the complete question. So prediction wise, so I didn't necessarily give a number prediction, but one of my big predictions that I gave was that it's only going to be a matter of time before we enter into a new bull market, because when you look at the lifespan of Bitcoin, especially 12 years, it's very cyclical. It goes through these 4-year cycles. And yes, it's very volatile up and down. But if you look at the overall trend, it's making higher highs and higher lows. And so, if in doubt, zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture of adoption and the bigger because I'm not going to say history doesn't repeat itself exactly, but it often eerily rhymes.
Okay, good stuff. Give me some predictions for the next 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And these don't have to be crazy, or I'm not looking for some prophecy, but maybe things you think they're going to happen, and, kind of what you think will occur based on what you've seen over the past 3-4 years. So.
Yeah. So some of my big predictions, and I've also talked about this in some of my past videos, with governments and institutions, is it's coming to pass. If you look at the life cycle of any fiat money system, a government money system, that's backed by nothing of real, true intrinsic value, that literally you can just press a button and create digits on a screen and hand them out to people.
Stimulus check, right?
Yeah, stimulus check, and a perfect example. There's definitely going to be more of that. And if you understand the true nature of the monetary system and how money actually works and comes into existence in its current state, you'll know that the average lifespan of a fiat currency is usually around 37 years, and they usually don't go beyond 50 or 60, right? Like there's some that have lasted a couple hundred years, but they all go to zero. They all fail. Never in history has it ever worked. Has this experiment ever worked?
This could be like a rabbit hole or a conspiracy we could talk about for hours, or not a conspiracy, but maybe like just a theory. But do you think that there's some intentional purpose behind not really learning about money in school?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Because you have to, once you go off of any form of gold standard or something that has a limited nature to it, because essentially what limited money does is it puts constraints on the government. The government doesn't want to have to tax the people too much because they're going to get pissed off. So what's easier, tax the people or create more money? Well, in order to create more money, create more debt. Well, the easiest way to do that is to be on a fiat money system. So we went off the gold standard in 1971. And that's really when the fiat experiment truly began for America. And that's when the timer really started ticking. On top of that, you look at the cycle of any country that has held the world status for world reserve currency, the average lifespan going all the way back thousands of years or hundreds of years is 80 to 90 years. And when did America become the world reserve currency? At the end of World War II. And so that was about 75, 76 years ago, right? So, and then if you do the math from 1971 to today, that's about 50 years of us being a fiat currency. So
where our timer is on for sure.
Oh yeah. Like these macro trends are converging. So they know, world leaders, institutions, banks, governments, whatever you want to call them, they all know that a reset has to happen. They all know that a monetary system has to change. And that's why you see things like the World Economic Forum posting a complete website talking about the Great Reset. That's why the deficit, the spending, the debt, it's all an illusion. The debt ceiling, it's a joke. Because here's the thing, when you've got a system of money where you borrow it into existence and you owe interest on that money, where are you going to get the extra dollars to pay for that interest? You got to borrow again. So
you just print those checks.
You just print those checks, right? And so the debt keeps stacking and stacking and stacking. And any substantial effort to pay down a fiat money system that has a debt like this, anytime you try to pay it off, the whole thing collapses in a deflationary collapse. Or the other option is to print it to oblivion, and we're in Venezuela, right? So the writing is on the wall. People just don't know this history. And it's like, if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Sure. It's just a little weird and strange that, we are on a fiat financial system. And the first time I heard that term was on YouTube. I mean, that's alarming. Yeah. The fact that, like we said, you never hear about it in school. You don't really learn about any type of financial things in school, or at least most schools anyway,
Yeah. No, absolutely. 100%.
Good stuff. We're going to go back to some of those questions for the average person, and hopefully these people will listen to this and use it as like a foundation, and then dig into you a little more, because this is only going to scratch the surface, I think. But maybe these people will connect with you and kind of go forward with more of your consulting or watch your videos and whatnot. What are some things to be aware of for people who've never done cryptocurrency or utilize the websites? Some big things to be aware of.
Yeah. So big things to be aware of is, if you don't hold your private keys, you don't hold your private seed phrase, which is essentially information that's critical. If you don't hold it, it's not your crypto. So not your keys, not your crypto. And if you store it with a exchange or a bank, I mean, you have to trust that institution, and exchanges have been hacked. So yeah, could they be insured? Yeah. But are they going to pay you in cryptocurrency? Are they going to pay you in the current value of when those funds were lost in fiat dollars that are losing value every year? I don't know. So for me, it's like, I'd rather have, control over my money than having to trust an institution. But that's just me. I don't want to have to rely on somebody. And cryptocurrency allows for that. So I would, and you got to be careful too. There's a lot of phishing attacks. There's a lot of scams out there. You really got to do your homework. You really got to talk to somebody who's involved in this on a day-to-day basis, because if you don't take private information serious, if you don't take cybersecurity serious, if you're not educated in all this stuff, you're going to get hurt. Sorry to say it, but there's a level of personal responsibility. And if you want to be free, if you want to be sovereign over your own wealth, over your time, energy, labor, and freedom, then you've got to take responsibility.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think about that too, because I talk with people about, why it could be people are kind of hesitant because it's kind of scary. I don't want to get hacked. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But there's the scams out there today, even with anything, are getting really, really, really good. I mean, they get better every day. For example, my wife was looking at this hair dryer. It's called the Dyson Airwrap. It's like a really nice one from Best Buy. But you could, around Christmas time, it's you couldn't find any of them. They're out of stock everywhere. So long story short, she finds a website and she's like, these are 60% off around Christmas. And I look at it and I was like, that sounds like a scam, but let me look. The website it looked very legitimate. It was a Dyson website. There was just one tiny little thing at the end, like the HTML website. If I wouldn't have saw that, otherwise I thought it was real. So I guess to play into the long-winded point, it's not just cryptocurrency that you can easily get scammed. It's, PayPal, it's online shopping, it's everything. So
yeah. And I'm a big proponent of using privacy browsers, VPNs, I'm going to change, certain methods and how I even do stuff. I mean, I take privacy serious. I take security serious, but you can always continue to improve, because the scams are always going to get easier and easier, but or not easier, but they're going to get better and better. So you just got to be vigilant. And it's just like with any company as well. If you're going to have a company and you're going to try to secure a database, you got to teach your employees what's a phishing attack.
And hopefully as hackers and scammers get better, our security walls will get better too. Just like, 15, 20 years ago, when you bought your laptop or your desktop, you had to get, the antivirus package with it, the $100 package you had to install. And nowadays, like my MacBook, I've never put anything on it and it's been fine, So, second part of that question, then we'll kind of move forward. Is this, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it for, Q&A. Is this the equivalent of day trading in penny stocks or the stock market?
No. This is the equivalent of a new asset class being birthed. I mean, it's like, if you had an opportunity to invest in the technology that created the internet in the early 90s, would you have done it? If you have the opportunity to invest in the internet 2.0, would you do it? Because cryptocurrency, blockchain technology is going to do for money and value what the internet did for information.
This one I had written down, and you had commented on it as well. What's up with the dog coin? Is it Dogecoin?
Dogecoin? Yeah.
Dogecoin. What is that?
So it actually was, because there's thousands of cryptocurrencies out there. And I honestly, you have to decide what you're going to dedicate your time to.
Dogecoin is a real thing.
It is a real thing. It's a real cryptocurrency. It's a real network. But
because my buddy who posted about that, is kind of a jackass. He's funny. He's always joking
Yeah.
and pranking. So I'm like, I don't know if he's telling the
Yeah.
truth or not.
No, it's a real coin, but it started out as a joke. So like the guy who created it just created it to be like funny. So like he created this he created a blockchain, he created open source software and was like, here's Dogecoin, and and it was just this funny meme coin with this little dog's face. And it's always been pumped, artificially pumped up and down. And yeah, like I think recently there was a big campaign, a bunch of kids on TikTok that are like, oh my gosh, Dogecoin is like X amount of pennies. Like we need to, if so many of us buy this much amount, like then yeah, we can pump it to this price in dollars and then we could sell it and be millionaires. And it's just like, so the thing's gonna live. Like I hate to say it, but Dogecoin is a joke. I don't see it as an investment, but like it's probably going to be one of those jokes that just never dies.
Interesting. Someone that's so weird. It's weird how it's just hard to understand and fathom how someone could create a version of a currency and then, people can invest in it and it kind of take off.
Yeah.
It's weird to combine, like value with memes and whatnot. But someone did want you to elaborate on that. The future of it, how far do you think it'll go? And then do you think it will go up to $1 in 5 years?
For Dogecoin?
Yes.
Oh God, I don't know. I honestly, I don't care for it. I don't watch it. I just think it's funny. Like
you don't own any of it.
I don't own any of it. And I think if somebody's going to own it, like, I guess you could put some money in it and watch it when it pumps. Like, I don't know, there might be another big social media push of some ignorant kids like saying, hey, we got to use Dogecoin. Like, anything could happen. Like, I'm not discounting it. I'm not saying it couldn't go to $1, but you really have to have a use case, and you really got to have a good network and community around it to let it grow and live. So, I mean, yeah, there's a good chance you could make some money off of it when it pumps, but I'm not wasting my time trying to, time it.
Gotcha. When do you expect a correction to happen? Another good question.
So yeah. So we are.
I know you've been talking about that a lot on your page, and
yeah, no, I posted a video on it just the other day, and what are we at now? We're at about 40,000. So we're $40,000 Bitcoin. Generally the whole market's doing really well right now. We are, in my opinion, we're rising really fast. We are overbought, and we'll probably have a significant correction. I mean, it could be anywhere from 40%. And here's the thing, like in the last bull market, there was, 6 to 9 significant corrections like that. But it was, the trend was up. The trend was your friend. And so, yeah, there's going to be some sell-offs along the way. The question is, how significant are those sell-offs going to be? Because as the market, the liquidity in the marketplace and the market capitalization grows, the volatility is going to reduce. And with all these institutions having the fear of missing out and buying billions and billions of dollars of this stuff and just taking it off exchanges and putting on cold storage, like there's a real shortage of this asset, and there's a supply and demand economics kick in then. And on top of that, could we be in a hyperinflation scenario or event? Like, yeah, sure, we don't have hyperinflation necessarily in our everyday commodities and foods and stuff that we use, because obviously the government doesn't want that to happen. But has healthcare gone up? Has real estate gone up? Has the stock market gone up? Like, like what's your measuring stick like for inflation? And so and if we know inflation is the goal, I mean, shoot, the Federal Reserve came out and was like, hey, we're not meeting our 2% inflation, so we're going to let this thing rise. So it's just like there's so many scenarios. Like, is there going to be chaos in the marketplace or government in the coming weeks? Like, I don't know. Like, could there be a black swan event? Sure, but like overall, like, does Bitcoin have a use case? Has Bitcoin continually risen in the last 12 years despite its ups and downs? Yeah, I mean, like, I have a lot of faith in this asset, and I've done very, very well in this asset. But I mean, just because there's a correction, I'm not going to get scared. The people who are going to get scared and the people who are going to sell their Bitcoin when the markets are red, they're going to be selling it to me. They're going to be selling it to the institutions. They're going to be selling it to all the stronger hands who have been in here a long time, because people are going to panic sell. They bought in at $40,000. They bought in at $50,000. At whatever point we have some kind of significant correction in this year, people who don't do their homework or due diligence, and they're just trying to make a quick buck on a quick flip, like they're the ones that are going to lose. So you really gotta, like I said, when in doubt, zoom out.
So, for example, I'm a new customer. I'm a new guy. I'm like, hey, this Bitcoin stuff, Matt, I'm hooked on your stuff. I want to get it. Are you advising to wait for the correction, or are you saying get in while you can and ride it out?
So my approach has been this: like, since I'm not a day trader, I'm an investor. I try to measure my wealth in Bitcoin and accumulate as much as I can.
You're a long-term guy.
Long-term guy, yeah, for sure. So like for me, my strategy has always been dollar cost averaging at no matter what the market is at. So like essentially what I'll do is I'm buying on a regular basis, like all the time, every time, no matter what the price is. And so my cost of entry is averaging out. So like, did I buy at the last height, at the last bull market at $20,000? Yeah. Did I buy at the bottom of the bear market at $3,000? Yeah, I did. But like, I'm not trying to time those moments. I'm just trying to accumulate as much as I can.
You're
And
just super
sometimes
consistent.
I'm super consistent, and I try to keep capital on the sidelines. So that way, when there is a big dip, I've got some money to deploy and buy into it at a larger scale. But
Gotcha.
I'm not sitting there trying to watch charts all the time, trying to time when I should get in, get out, because that's not what I'm doing. And that there's also tax headaches for that too. And so I don't advise people to try to time the market. I'd say, okay, do you have exposure to Bitcoin? Because if you don't have exposure to Bitcoin, in my personal opinion, not a financial advisor, this is not financial advice. This is my own experience, my own opinion. If you don't have exposure, some level exposure to Bitcoin, you're being irresponsible.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good topic and point about just being consistent and looking at it long term. And if you read a lot of finance books, that's what almost everyone says. Eventually, or, to an extent, is this isn't a short term thing. You're not going to get rich overnight. You're not going to get rich in 3 or 4 years. You're going to get rich in 20 to 30 years. And if you can return a decent, I guess like a decent average is what you're looking for. Because a lot of people are, like you said, they want to try to day trade, or they want to try to follow charts, and even the pros sometimes really struggle with that. So
Yeah, and honestly, like, yeah, the gains, the returns on this stuff is enormous, and it's going to continue to be enormous for the time being, because it's an asset class that's coming into existence, and it's growing in adoption. But at the same time, like, the people who are getting rich right now are the people who were buying it at $800, $1,000, and $3,000. Like, I've been screaming from the top of the roof, from the mountains for like the last 3 or 4 years, saying,
you
"Hey,
have,
you got to buy some of this stuff." And so like people like, oh, it's $9,000. Nah, I don't want to buy Bitcoin. Oh, it's 11,000. No, it's too expensive. 20,000. No way. All time high. Okay. Well, it's $40,000 now. So like, what, and then when we do have the correction, everybody's like freaking out. They're like, I don't want to buy it now. Like, blood on the street. Like, I'm too scared. It's like, you were asking for this dip. Now you don't want to buy?
yeah, that's funny. You have, as you say, been screaming from the mountain to buy this. And, I see your stuff all the time. Have I watched all of your videos? No. Do I see every one of your posts? No, but I see a lot of them, and they're pretty consistent with just buy Bitcoin, put your money in there, be safe, be smart, buy it and ride the waves.
Yep.
There's, I guess for people listening or who may check you out, you've never really, as you mentioned, you haven't been like, buy it now, buy it tomorrow, or sell tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's always just buy and ride, be safe, be smart, get in.
Yep.
You got to get in the water, to kind of get in. So, I guess long story short, I can just attest to what you're saying is true. You've been riding it out for a while, and you don't sit there and watch charts, as you say. So,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about portfolios. So you can kind of hit on yours if you want to go percentages, or if you want to kind of tackle the average American, which is what I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
Kind of, because there's so many things out there. People are like, should I get in the stock market? People are like, mutual funds, my 401k,
Yeah.
real estate. Let's talk about portfolio diversity, and maybe give a good example of like, someone who makes $60,000 a year.
Sure.
Kind of, what would you advise them? Weekly, monthly, yearly Bitcoin?
So the thing that you'll realize is the reason why I tell people, don't put more money in there that you're not willing to lose. And I don't say that because I believe it's going to fail. The reason why I say that is because the person who's buying it doesn't understand what they're buying. And when they start to learn what they're buying, and when they start to learn the monetary system, and they start to learn monetary cycles and history, they get more confident in their decision. So I myself would not advise anybody to do what I do unless they know what I know, unless they have the conviction that I have. In fact, I don't have any money in the stock market. I keep very little dollars.
You have $0 in the stock market.
$0 in the stock market. I have the only amount of cash that I keep is to pay my bills. And I obviously I've got some cash in case of an emergency, but for the most part, my portfolio is cryptocurrency, precious metals, and real estate. Because my goal is I not only want to preserve my purchasing power, I want to protect my wealth. I want my wealth to increase, but I also want to have assets that create cash flow. So, it's two-pronged approach. I want cash flow and I want protection. So I believe that cryptocurrency is going to be the fastest horse in the race when it comes to returns on investment. I hold gold and silver because it's a form of insurance. But if you look at things like Bitcoin, again, if you don't understand the technology, if you haven't studied it, like the thing you got to realize is this is the scarcest asset that man has ever known in the terms of when you look at what's out there and what people are investing in and the network effect, the monetary value that's coming online and the security of the network, and the utility of it. Like people realize, I love gold and silver. I've always been a gold and silver bug. And I think it's going to continue to do well in the future when you're living in a world of inflating fiat money that's decreasing in purchasing power every year. Sure, it's going to do well. But when the demand for gold and silver goes up, capital goes into mining and mining increases. So is there inflation in gold and silver? There can be. There is a little bit, but it's not nearly compared to the fiat money system. Bitcoin is on a schedule, and there's only going to ever be 21 million of them. And every 4 years, that newly minted supply gets cut in half. Just because demand rises for Bitcoin, production cannot increase. So in other words,
you said there's 21 million is the cap.
21 million will be the cap. There's 18 million of them mined right now in circulation. There's about 5 or 6 million that are lost forever. And there will continue to be some that lose forever. So if adoption is growing, supply is decreasing, supply can't increase its production, or there's no way that production can increase supply, like with gold and silver when demand goes up, then this is truly the scarcest form of an asset that's on the marketplace right now. And what it's going to do is it's going to suck in money and capital and energy. It's like the way you got to look at money. Money is a vehicle that is for energy. So we use money as a tool for economic value and energy. Money represents our time, labor, energy, and freedom. Okay. So what are you storing your time, labor, energy, and freedom in? Is it fiat money that will eventually hyperinflate and will continue to inflate? Yeah, I don't want that. Is it going to be gold and silver that, yeah, it's sustainable, it's historical, it'll probably always be money, but it'll have a slight inflation, slight increase in production as long as we continue to mine it, okay? Or am I going to store most of my wealth in something that may not be a physical, tangible thing, but if it is the most secure computer network and it's the scarcest digital asset, I mean, the reason why I'm such a firm believer in this technology is we live in an exponential and compounding growth of technology, a world of technology. And when you've got artificial intelligence and you've got autonomous cars and you've got smart machines that are communicating with each other, they're going to be doing transactions with each other, these machines, with no middleman, no person, no bank, nobody involved. It's all going to be done with blockchain, smart contracts. So if you were to go to work and have your Tesla car park in the parking lot and it can drive itself, why would you just let it sit there? You would actually let it go ride share, become a cash, making machine, an asset that produces cash flow for you. So people will ride share. They'll take their phone, they'll scan their phone's wallet to your car's crypto wallet, And via smart contracts, once that ride is completed, the transaction is completed with no middleman, no person involved. And then when the car has to refuel or recharge, the car is going to go to the fueling station, and the car's wallet will talk to the pump's wallet with no human involved. Like, that's what this technology does. Like, instead of like the way your electric bill or your gas bill or anything, like you're gonna be paying it in fractions. Like, because like cryptocurrency can be divisible. Like Bitcoin's divisible by 8 decimal points. So, I mean, there's a huge rabbit hole I could go into, but I know I just went onto a rant there. But like,
no, it's good. It's
yeah.
Good. How soon do you think those realities will be here? Give us a prediction. I mean, you could be wrong.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I think the world that I just described could easily be here in 10 years.
1 decade.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Because look at what the Federal Reserve is talking about. Look what the EU is talking about. Look at all these institutions and banks. China rolled out their own cryptocurrency. They're the first nation state to do this. Like, they want adoption. What?
I don't let me forget that.
Okay.
Government and money. Go ahead.
Like, and when you listen to the testimonies and the speeches of somebody like the head of the IMF or the EU central bank, or if you look at what the Federal Reserve has talked about, like all these big monetary and financial players, they're saying, hey, listen, if we don't do anything, this technology is going to go around us. Like, they have to adopt the technology. Like that.
So at first they kind of denied it, but now they're like, hey, we got to be a part of this, or, it's going to screw us bad. Right. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. Sometimes the stuff processing is just crazy, but what I was pointing out earlier, it made me think about is, like I said, know who you are, followed you for a while, known you for 5-6 years. But I did get on your website, was digging around for some topics and for things who would listen. Talk about, elaborate more on your stuff with the Oklahoma legislator and talking about cryptocurrency with them. I don't know much about that.
Yeah. So I had the honor to help author some of the first pro cryptocurrency legislation in the state of Oklahoma. And I've even held an interim study with Senator Nathan Dahm to help educate lawmakers about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fear, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of misclassification.
So those boomers, right?
Yeah, boomers. Yeah. Dang boomers. No. I really enjoy the educational process, and just trying to dismiss some of the fears and misunderstandings. But my goal is this: there's essentially, as this cryptocurrency market evolves, there's really 3 or 4 different types of cryptocurrencies at this moment. There are ones that truly act like a currency. There are ones that act like a ticket or a coupon, much like what we would call a utility token that you would use in some kind of special ecosystem or marketplace. Okay. Then you've got ones that act like a security, which could be digital representation of company stock or debt issued on a blockchain. Then you've got what they call non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, which could be like a digital asset that is truly unique. So, and I like to make this analogy. I'm going on a slight rabbit hole here, but the largest concert ever attended was online, and it was like with a Fortnite concert, like virtual reality Fortnite concert. There was millions of people, right, tuning into this. Like, imagine being able to be present at that concert with your VR headset and see the lead guitarist playing his guitar, and then like going to that guy and like buying his guitar from him, his digital guitar that's an NFT assigned on a blockchain, and it's limited. It's the only one that can ever be created, and it can be authenticated on the blockchain. And then you take that guitar and you put it on your virtual wall in the virtual world. Like people don't understand, like, kids value gaming skins. They value all these things that are in these gaming ecosystems. So like, I mean, so I don't mean to go on a tangent there, but what I mean there is there's several types of cryptocurrencies, and not everything should be labeled in a tax environment as one thing. Like, you have to treat them separately, and you have to apply different rules if you're going to try to incorporate any type of regulation in this atmosphere. And so what I've been trying to do with Oklahoma is do essentially what Wyoming has been doing is, hey, listen, there is a difference in these asset classes. We need to be friendly to the industry. We need to welcome the industry because it's going to bring innovation. It's going to bring capital. It's going to bring talent. It's going to boost the economy. Because it's like, had Oklahoma or any other state been friendly, to some new technology, they're going to benefit from it in the long run.
How's that been going? Has it been pretty successful, or is it,
No, they still. The last time I had bills in the, it got to committee. It was killed in committee because some chick, I'm not going to name her just out of respect. She was running for Congress, and some banker went up to her, and she was the chairman of the committee, and was like, "Hey, I want you to kill these bills." So, so it's just like, it's like, oh well, like, I'll keep trying. Like, eventually it'll happen. But other states are definitely taking the lead.
Did you know much about the involvement? Just because you were in the area and you're pretty involved with the government stuff, and then the business about when Tesla was coming to the Tulsa for Tesla, the development of that. Were you involved in that at all, or did you just kind of follow it?
I followed it and promoted it, but I didn't. I wasn't involved in any substantial level.
Yeah, I know it was Tulsa or Austin, right? And then Austin took that one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's probably, I mean, Austin's a lot bigger than Tulsa, and they've got the no state tax, so that probably was a big component of it too. So
yeah, yep.
It just made me think about you saying, you're trying to bring innovation to Oklahoma and economic growth through different avenues and trying to get on that train while you can. So
yeah. Yep.
So that didn't work out, but I assume you're not giving up on it, right? You're still plugging in.
Yeah, it's going to always be an ongoing, thing. And I think because I've positioned myself within the legislature, as somebody who's knowledgeable on it, I'm sure I'm going to be called upon more in the near future. So, because perfect example, there's already regulations coming out at the federal level that are very pro crypto. Like, for instance, the OCC, which is the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, like, they're the ones that regulate a lot of these banking and currency issues. And they basically gave the green light for banks to not only be custodians of cryptocurrency, but to use cryptocurrency as a settlement layer.
There is a ton of information out there, like in anything you look up. Like, if you look at like I feel like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, if you wanted to get on a healthy diet, it was, your doctor told you, or there was one diet. Now there's like thousands of diets. There's thousands of workout plans. Aside from your own websites and your own YouTube videos, which we are going to plug, and they're good, where do you go to get your information? Or give me one or two sites that are good to go, or blogs or something. Because I Google Bitcoin, and I could spend the next 7 weeks looking for information.
Yeah. First thing I would do is jump on Amazon, buy the book, The Bitcoin Standard. Second thing I would do, I would probably go watch Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money video series. It's a 10-part video series. And then the third thing I would do is I would follow podcasts like What Bitcoin Did is the name of the podcast, What Bitcoin Did. And then I would also follow somebody like Anthony Pompliano on YouTube. Let's see here. Who else are some of the YouTubers that I follow? Crypto, if you're just more on the charting and trading side. And then Crypto Zombie. There's a lot of funny names out there, but
Dogecoin.
Like, for instance, like on Dogecoin, like on Twitter, like one of the main charting analysis guys that people follow for crypto is I think his Twitter handle is like Magic Poop Cannon. like there's just like extremely knowledgeable people that just have these weird names.
It's like their alter ego. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. I think last question from the Q&A, and then I got a handful for you about some other stuff, and then we'll wrap it up. We've been going about our limit, and it's been great, and I appreciate you coming on, man. Favorite wallets and exchanges?
Yeah, so I use the Ledger wallet for my hardware wallet, which is.
Do you have that still?
Yeah, you do. Good. Yeah.
I got into it last week.
Did you? Well, I'm sure you're doing quite well if you've just been sitting on it.
Yeah.
So anyways, I use that for my hardware wallet. I like that brand. If you're just wanting a mobile wallet where you're in charge of the private keys and seed phrase, Exodus is very user friendly. And they have a desktop version as well. And you can actually do in-wallet trades. So there's a little bit of a fee there, but it's you don't have to take it onto an exchange. You can literally just say, I want Bitcoin, this much Bitcoin for this much Ethereum. And like you can do it in the wallet. And then exchanges, If you're going to go into the altcoin space and speculate in a lot of these new projects or different cryptocurrencies, Binance is one of my favorites, but you're going to have to use a VPN, and you're probably going to have to set it to Germany in order to use it, because Americans are basically not allowed to use the real Binance version. But if you're just wanting like an Americanized, heavily regulated exchange and well trusted, there's they are the cream of the crop in America. It's Coinbase and Gemini. So
Yeah, I do. I still have the Coinbase app as well. So I remember you talking about that. Good stuff, man. Great stuff. Wanted to talk to you about your book.
Yeah.
What, talk a little bit about it, what inspired you to write it. And then honestly, I'd like to hear how you published it, how long it took you to write it. And those are just kind of personal questions, but let's
Sure.
talk more about that.
Yeah, so my book is Foundations for Liberty, and it's about a 91-page book. I wanted it to be consumable in probably one or two sittings, and I didn't want to lose people's attention. So it reads very well, very easy. The whole premise of it is the first part is about what it takes to really live freely, both as an individual and as a government. And then also the second part is about the monetary system, so monetary sovereignty. A lot of people will talk about freedom and they want freedom, and that's great. But I truly believe that not only does freedom start spiritually, but freedom starts at the money, because money is the representation of your time, energy, labor, and freedom. So yeah, I think it's a great read if you're wanting to go down some rabbit holes and you want to challenge yourself with some of this thinking. But I made it, like I said, I made it easy to read, and I wrote it. The way I wrote it was a course of 2 years. I didn't really set out to write the book. I was inspired with a thought. I was inspired with an idea, and I sat down and I would jot it down and on the computer. And then eventually, after 2 years of doing that on a regular basis, when I was inspired, I was like, oh wow, I've got enough content to really create a book, and it's kind of all around the same thing. So I just kind of streamed it together. And I hired an editor to take a look at my writing and how I structured it, and she made some changes. And then after hiring the editor, I bought my own ISBN numbers, and then I went to a publisher after I got the artist to do the design for the book cover. I went to a publisher and I had them do the printing of it, but they weren't going to market it because I wasn't going to use their ISBN number. So then I put it on my website, and then I also hired a marketing guy who was known for getting stuff on Amazon and really pushing it. And so was able to work with him, get my book on Amazon, make it a Amazon bestseller in multiple categories. Made number one in monetary theory. And made it in best-selling in religious. I think there was a religious category too. I've got a whole list of what my rankings were, but I don't have them in front of me.
Is this going to be the start of book writing, or are you kind of a one and done with that?
No, I see myself writing again. I definitely do. I'm actually going to make an expanded version of this because there's a lot of stuff that's not in there that I really wanted to put in there. So if I think my next venture is just going to do an expanded edition.
Outside of crypto and your book, do you got any current plans for you personally? Anything else going on? You got to do some other stuff besides crypto and writing, right? So
yeah. So I mean, one of my hobbies is just getting involved in politics. I got a lot of friends who are politicians, and they're the good ones though, the ones that actually care about your freedoms and actually follow what they say. So but I'll probably dabble in politics. I'll write more books. I'll, more business ventures. My goal is at the top of this next bull market is obviously I want to continue to increase my crypto game, but I want to take some of that capital and I want to deploy it in what they call either staking or mining, or I would like to, I'd like to buy, I'd like to create just more vehicles of cash flow. Yeah.
Gotcha. A personal question I got that I've been trying to ask all my guests. I've been slacking, but I got the last 3. So give me 2 to 3 songs currently that pump you up when you're working out or you're, working or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
2 or 3 current songs.
Okay. So the ones that I've been stuck on for the last month, it's a, In the End, which is by Linkin Park, but it's a remix done by somebody named Tommy Prophet.
Tommy
Uh,
Prophet. Okay.
yeah, so it's like it's a more chilled version of
Mhm.
In the End. And then yeah, so that's kind of what I've been listening to the most right now. And
In
then
the
I've
End
got
featuring Flurry by
yeah,
Tommy
it's
Prophet.
Tommy Prophet. Yeah,
I just downloaded it. So, okay.
cool. It's pretty tight. You're gonna love it.
Okay. Any others? Just that one?
Well, currently that's the most recent.
That's your one? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this from a podcast blogger. He said, start asking your guests what gets them pumped up and then create a library on there and kind of, hit the shuffle. So it's
That's
going to
awesome.
be, it's going to be interesting to see, who, what tastes are and kind of listen to it. The last guy had some Kid Rock songs, Roland. I know you said you checked that one out. So that was kind of
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I think we've covered a lot, and I think I'm good. I really appreciate it. I want you to talk about where people can find you. Of course, we'll add the physical links as well, but where people can
Yeah.
find you and that whole
Yeah.
deal.
So I have 2 websites you can go to, and all my social media is linked on there.
Mhm.
But mattjmoore.com, and that's more with 2 O's, and then also cryptomore with 2 O's.com. So yeah, mattjmoore.com and cryptomore.com. And if you want to follow me on any social media, there should be links on those websites.
Yep, and I will definitely get those in there. If you got anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I think we're going to wrap it up and say goodbye. So
Awesome. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, Matt, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Like I said, wanted to talk about crypto. I've been seeing you and several other people talk about it, and I feel like now is a great time. And hopefully, this will be a good educational piece. And maybe people can follow you and kind of seek out more of your consulting and make some money. So
Yeah, would love that, man. Thank you.
yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time.